Post-game damage charts in League can be very misleading. A lot of people seem to think that if they had the highest damage on their team, that means they played the best on their team. That's not necessarily the case. It could be, but sometimes it isn't. It's very possible that you had the highest damage, but you played the worst just based on the situation of that game. Context is really important. If you're playing something like Brand, it's gonna be a lot easier to get high damage compared to something that's single target like a Shen. Obviously his E can hit multiple targets, but he's not a damage type of champion. He has to be really fed to do the highest damage generally. One thing I want to go into is, where did this idea come from? Because I can understand KDA. It makes sense. In other games where you have the most points, you're generally rewarded or people compliment you for doing well. Such as in Call of Duty, if you have the most kills in free-for-all, you win, or most kills in team deathmatch, people say you're good. Same thing with Counter-Strike, people like to say they're top fragger, whatever. Even in real-life sports, such as basketball, baseball, when you get points, soccer, same idea, people compliment you for it. But again, those are points. Damage, unless it converts to something, doesn't mean anything at all. It's not like damage on a turret where there is actual progression towards killing the Nexus. If you throw a Q, an Ezreal Q, at somebody, and they use their base health regen to get back to full HP before you've remotely killed them, that Q didn't do anything. However, if you use your damage to convert into a CS lead, or into a dive later, maybe an opportunity to roam, etc., because you can force them out of the lane, then that damage means something. Or damage in very important team fights can also mean something. But the overall damage across an entire game does not matter. That stat is completely irrelevant. You don't win from having high damage, you win from having high amounts of impactful damage. Making good overall decisions. There is, of course, generally a correlation with doing a lot of damage and playing well. Because if you're playing well, if you're stomping the opponent, you're going to be doing more damage because you have a lead, you have items, etc. But it does not always apply completely. It should be taken on a case-by-case basis. The context is very important to look at. Do not just say that you're better than somebody because you had higher damage, unless you're memeing in Discord, of course. If you're doing that, then it's fine, but don't seriously believe that you're better simply because you did more damage. If you actually want to figure out if your damage was useful, go and look at your game. See how often you're actually getting kills from the damage and what you were doing with that gold lead that you got from the kills. Was it turning it into objectives, such as turrets, drakes, barons? Or is it simply you chasing around the map, throwing a bunch of abilities for really, really long fights that didn't turn into anything? And if you have difficulty finding that out on your own and you play top or jungle, I'm always happy to help coach. You can go to my Discord server at Coach for free and we can look and see what's going on.